speaker, and then we'll be on to Jim Jenkins. Pat Hunter, you're up.
My name is Pat Hunter, and I'd like to compliment the students of Greenback School for building this wonderful podium. They did a great job, and I hope we recognize them for their hard work. I would like to talk about a couple of items that I've discussed before. One is the senior citizens property tax freeze, and not to confuse it with another program which is currently being implemented in Loudon County, which is the property tax relief. The property tax relief, and I'll be glad to send you this information. It's currently being used, and it is for low income and disabled people and veterans. And their cap is, I think, 30,000. So, like I said, that's very limited, and I think that they get reimbursed for part of their tax. Is that not correct? On the property tax, on the relief?
Is it reimbursed or a discount? I'm not 100%.
Don't they pay that up front and then they get a portion of it back? Because doesn't the county set aside money for that program?
We do set aside money for the program, and of course, if they're reimbursed, then that would happen at the trustee's office.
Right.
Not like the mayor, I'm not sure that it's reimbursement or reduction. I don't
Okay,
know.
so, but it's totally different from what I'm talking about.
From what I understand, it's a reduction.
It's a reduction, okay. What I'm talking about, because I didn't want to get the programs mixed up, I'm talking about the senior citizens property tax freeze. And with that, it is for, first of all, in 2006, the taxpayers, the voters approved it by a large margin. It was like 12,000 people to maybe 2,500 that didn't vote for it. So overwhelmingly, it was approved. But the commission hasn't enacted the program. Back when Commissioner Shaver, Austin Shaver was there, he tried unsuccessfully, but we need to look at that program because it could benefit a lot of seniors in the community. And I guess I look at it a little bit differently. If a taxpayer, if a senior has been paying their taxes for 40 years, I think that in their golden years, they deserve a break. We certainly have given tax breaks to large corporations, Del Congo, Tate & Lyle, DuPont, Morgan Olson. So, when we give tax breaks to corporations and businesses, I think that the public, the seniors, deserve the same consideration. So I hope you look into that. I've written a letter to the editor, and I'm hoping that it will be published.
I can give you a little information on that. I am addressing that. I've asked some questions,
Okay.
doing some research, and I hope to get the answers and bring that to commission workshop next month.
Okay.
To try to get that on the agenda, and Commissioner Waller has also helped with that, and so we're working on something for that.
Okay, I appreciate that because over the years it's fallen through the cracks. I know when Ms. Miles came up and she addressed County Commission about it, she was talking about having to pay for, taxes now that her spouse was deceased. And I think whenever you have an opportunity or you have a chance to help the seniors, I think it's beneficial in general.
I think we should work on the IRS too.
Good luck.
I'm not
What
ready
if-
to take on the IRS.
What if Chip and Mike come next meeting to talk through this with us?
Well, in fact, I was gonna, and we should, I talked to both of those guys last week, and of course, you know what their stance are.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I think everybody should hear it.
So, you know, their stance are, it would add employees.
Yeah.
So my question, to both of them is, show me the data where it's gonna add those employees.
Yeah.
And bring that to me so I can take a look at it. So that's the stage we're in now, so I think they're gathering that information. I don't necessarily agree that we'll have to add employees, but it's their departments, and I need them to show me why we would have to.
Well, I think last meeting that I addressed county commission about this, how a number of years ago, commission voted to delegate a lot of those duties from his office to the finance office. And it is the finance office that has taken the, you know, the responsibility that belongs upstairs. So, you know, she's being burdened by the extra work, so the person that isn't doing that work should be able to help out on this program. And one other thing, in 2006, when the adequate facilities tax was approved, at the time, it should have been the building office to, you know, where the process actually starts when you're going to get a permit. At the time, the director, whoever it was, didn't want to handle the paperwork, so it went to the trustee's office. So if we can send that work, that should be at the building inspector's office.
It starts at the building inspector's office, they have to go upstairs to pay.
Okay,
All the application stuff happens down here in the planning office.
I didn't think that the application was,
Is that right, Jim? Yeah, all application, everything happens
so
down
it
here.
happens down
You
here.
gotta go upstairs to pay.
So, you know, at least we know that some of the work that is being done by the finance office, it's taken a lot of responsibility off, so, you know, there should be some help there.
Sure.
The other thing that I would like to, talk about is the, TV3. And I brought this to your attention a couple of months ago because during the budget process, TV3 was allocated roughly $6,100. And TV3 provides a important service. If you're not able to attend a meeting, at the very least, you should be able to see it. And I'm talking about any public meeting, whether it's a planning meeting, whether it's a workshop of the school board, of the county commission, we should be able to see those meetings. That is a public service. The $6,100, it's my understanding, based on the paperwork that they submitted, they requested an additional $2,000, but they were approved for $6,100. I guess the concern that I have is, when I brought this up to the school board, they said that Channel 3 representatives spoke to Mr. Guerin at a meeting that I was not at, but they said it would cost $50 per meeting to stream to YouTube and $100 per meeting to stream to YouTube and put on cable TV. So, you know, they decided not to do that, you know, for the workshops anyway. I guess I feel a little bit differently. If TV3 is provided with office space, a place to keep their equipment, at the very least, they should record the workshops for the school board free. I mean, leasing, normally when you lease space, you have to pay for it. And if you're not paying for lease space at the LCTV3 location, then you should give a service. And to me, it should be a wash. But, you know, at the very least, I think that the website committee that was formed a couple of years ago should look into this, because if they don't want to do it, for whatever reason, and I think at $50 or $150, that $6,100 is more than adequate to cover this. But like I said, putting it on YouTube shouldn't be real hard. And hopefully we have some people with our own IT department, or maybe commission, Mr. Shaver, or Mr. Waller.
We're sitting here watching you on
Or Miss
workshop right now.
Brewster, who's already done it and who has got us a channel and everything, and she's sitting here doing it right now.
Okay, I didn't know that. All I know is that a couple of months ago, we stopped having workshops. being
This is the
video
first
recorded.
night, it's not been going on.
Well, no, I've been looking, and we have had past meetings that were not recorded, that's why.
We wanna hit all that real hard here, just in a
To
little
your
bit.
attention, so that's the other thing. And then my last concern is the current contract that we're negotiating. I was working on some numbers today, filling my Excel sheet that I started back in, it goes back all the way to 2007 when the contract was actually approved. And if we add the numbers, year-to-date this year, I guess I refer to the Matlock Bend landfill as the golden goose that laid the golden eggs, because, this year, cumulative, they call it revenue base, and it's over $50 million. And of that $50 million, we have received roughly, about less than 10%. And that's unacceptable. At the very least, we should have a guarantee of 450,000 or 600,000, a tangible number that we can have, that we know we're going to have at the end of 11 years. And we haven't had that. We have, hypotheticals. If we bring in more waste, if the tonnage is up, if the rates are higher, then we could possibly have a certain amount, but we don't have an exact financial that tells us that. So I have concerns about that. So we're going to have an executive session. We're going to be talking about some of these issues. One of the issues that I brought up was the days that's used to calculate the tonnage. It's calculated on 30 days, when in fact the landfill is not open 30 days. Matter of fact, if you look at the contract, the current contract, the hours are considerably, it tells you that they're open Monday through Friday, half a day on Saturday. So I think using 273 would be more realistic. In this last contract, they didn't even address it. So, those are the issues that we're looking at. And I hope that the stakeholders ask us to slow this process down, because it's too important. And it's like Ms. Franklin said, we will be responsible for post-closure and long-term custodial. That's new in the regulations. And it says that we will have to monitor and maintain activities for a long-term custodial care during the 50-year period, beginning upon the certification of completion of post-closure to ensure the continued protection of human health and environment. One other thing that we did not get in the proposal that we're going to be asking questions about, Mr. Simpson had requested some green space, and he wanted to have the ability to take our yard waste from our highway department, our cities, into an area and have it either at a reduced rate or at zero, no tipping fees. And that is not in this contract. We need to look at that. Rutherford County, and I think I gave you this information before. Rutherford County uses the Republic landfill. It is privately owned. They do not pay tipping fees at all. They get their garbage dumped free. And they also get anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million a year. So, we need to look at that. It isn't in the current contract, but we need to play hardball. We cannot give the golden goose away, not a second time. So I'm hoping that you're going to have input and tell us, we need your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna pick up just for a second on a couple of things that I heard. Mayor, and y'all, everybody sitting there is gonna know my position on this, is what we got going on at Poplar Springs that we're gonna have to spend another $30,000 on.
We've got one spot, everything on the front end. Remember when you walked it
Oh, I've
going
been
in?
there, I've seen it.
Everything is good. Grass is growing. The one spot that smells like, it's clean, it's been tested clean, but smells like,
Trash.
no, it smells
No.
like diesel almost, like a weak diesel. We've
It's
done
holding
everything.
water.
UT's done everything they know to do. It continues to flow. Thank goodness it's flowing non-toxic. That water's gonna be rerouted. It's just gonna have to flow, but it's gonna reroute into a controlled ditch
Ditch.
where it's not erosion or anything else on the
With
side.
riprap.
Yeah.
It's just a simple, the lady from TDEC said it's a simple,
Yeah, it'll be simple.
well, she says it's a simple matter of getting that water over to the ditch line in this one area. When they did all their engineering and grading and things, they didn't grade it well enough in this one area for it to drain over to the ditch line. And so every time they sow it, every time they do something like that, of course, science will show you if you put seed in water, it will not grow grass if it's drowning in water. So
I think it's an underground, of course, that's just me speculating, that's an underground creek or something, because even during the drought,
it is.
It's
It's
You're on top of a 75-foot tall dump. It's not an underground spring. Let me assure you.
well, I like to think that.
I was
Well-
there back when it was a dump. I mean, I can tell you what it used to look like there and where the dirt was on and all that, but
But that is in the money that we have left is,
well, I told
But
you,
it's
what,
taken.
5 years ago that it won't be fixed till every dime's gone, right? So I just went back on the record
and
for
what did
that.
I tell you? I agreed with you on that too.
All right, the second one is, and it may have just been a misspoken from Pat, but I always have to explore this one. We're gonna have an executive session to discuss contracts. Can't do that.
Can't.
Executive sessions are for litigation pending or perceived litigation. Is there litigation involved?
Well, we're in the middle of litigation with attorneys over this
I
contract, so.
don't think that counts as litigation. I mean, you've been enough buyers, you know what Bob Bowman do. It's for asking questions and getting answers, all you can get to do. You can't
Can't.
negotiate and discuss contracts behind closed
We're
doors.
discussing it amongst ourselves. We're discussing.
But not
it
behind closed
points.
doors, you can't.
Well, I will, actually, Kevin Stevens said that, in this instance on the contract and things, that we were fine to go to executive session. But if it'll make you feel better, I'll be glad to check it out with Bob Bowman.
It doesn't make me feel anything, which brings me to my end right here. A long time ago, we were all in unison and agreed Mr. Stevens doesn't need to be representing anything involved in the county. Right after he sued us on behalf of the POA, he's representing solid waste and suing the county on behalf of the POA. And if I'm not mistaken, he's still with the POA. Is that correct, Henry?
That's true.
Why is he even still there?
That I can't answer.
I'm looking,
That's
Kelly, I wasn't
fine.
asking you.
What do you want me to do? You
Get a
want
different
me to-
attorney.
Well,
I mean, we all used to agree to that. He didn't need to be at all the meetings, he doesn't need to be doing this, the conflicts. I'm just asking you from a several years ago point when I heard the name mentioned here tonight. I don't know that I really realized he was still there. Why wouldn't you
he's
get
been
somebody
there. He's been
non-conflicted?
there through this whole thing. He's
Right.
been there this whole entire time.
I understand that.
And I believe the Solid Waste Commission is a separate entity, separate
Absolutely.
from this.
It
And
is.
they do whatever, their interlocal agreement is, they have sole control of what they do.
I agree, but I'm asking you, at one point, I think we all thought he should be not representing us with the conflict. That's not, we don't feel that way anymore.
I've not brought it up as far as make a motion to remove
A motion?
Kevin Stevens. I mean, I'm one vote. You wanna remove Kevin Stevens at the point?
I don't wanna do
Yes.
anything, I asked you a question. I'm not trying to remove
I'm
anybody.
telling you, he's still there and has been there for through this whole thing, since my
Been there.
whole time
Right.
on solid waste, he has been there. You knew he has been there,
I sorta thought he was gonna be leaving though,
okay?
kinda when you got there. This question, that leads me, I'm done, that was just my questions I had from what I was hearing. I'm done.
The only thing I would say on this whole discussion on the landfill, I want the absolute best deal for the taxpayers of Loudon County.
And that is what are going to, when we get everything ironed out and done and everything ready, we're bringing it to you all to take a look at, and
Okay.
it will be here.
I would just like to say, I'd like to see a for sale sign at the landfill.
That-
Amen.
Hey,
I'll
there
make
you
a second
go.
on that.
Okay, and when you do put the for sale sign at the landfill, be ready to foot the bill for closing all the sales.
We're gonna sell it, we'll close it. So everybody's gotta take care of
And we
everything.
don't have enough money in the whole county to close it.
Sell it,
They're supposed to be
Even
closed now,
when you
but
close it, when you close it,
sell it,
when
What's that?
you close it or sell it, you'll have to close those sales.
sell it.
I did not misspeak.
Oh,
Um,
I understand.
We were told at our meeting that we were going to discuss the contract. I asked for a public meeting. A motion was made for an executive session. I have contacted the Office of Open Records Counsel and TCOG, and they have said we cannot discuss. We can only ask questions. I've asked if there was litigation or a lawsuit. I was told no. So I did not misspeak. The word discussion was used.
And those of us that have been in any of the executive sessions with Bob Bowman, I've never been in one with Kevin Stevens, I'm aware of. Bob Bowman will tell you right real fast, no, we're not doing that. You got a question, you ask me, I'm gonna answer. You don't discuss among yourself, you don't do that. Bob takes it, as everybody behind here knows, it's been in one with him. I don't know if Steven takes us that way, I've never been in one with him, but, I think that's very, very cautious what you need to, what goes on behind the closed doors with
I
an attorney.
appreciate that, and I'll be glad to check on that tomorrow. How's that with
Excellent.
Bob Bowman?
So anyway, I just wanted to clarify.
Because that's the
what I
rules
said.
we follow,
I know
Commissioner
it's the
Shaver.
rules that we follow.
Okay,
All right.
that concludes the public comments. Jim Jenkins, step to the podium and tell us about the 5 zoning resolutions.
So to narrow this down, the first one is to rezone from R1 Suburban Residential District to C2 General Commercial District. It's located at tax map 10 parcel 180.00, 3407 Highway 70 East in the 5th Legislative District.
Mr. Chairman, that's our
Go
district,
ahead.
mine, Commissioner Duff's, and, I'm sorry, I don't remember Rick I'm not even gonna try the last name.
That's all good.
John, I know, so I can call him John all day. Out there where that's at, been out and looked at, of course, it's not your all's problem, but the sign's been down on the ground flat almost since it was put up. I even stood back up one time, but that ground's solid down there. I understood at the planning commission meeting, you to say, and I think John was saying too, that your hope is to come back and build you, was it insurance office?
Yeah, that's what I do for.
That you're wanting to come back to an insurance office, and I think that's probably a good place for it. My question to you, I'll be honest, who's the owner, Wilkerson?
No, I own it.
He is.
You own it, so you have
Yeah,
bought.
we had a contract on it, we had to close on it.
Okay, I'm with you. But it was somebody in Wilkerson or something like that. Would you be amicable to rezone it to office professional rather than C2? If you're gonna do an office fits perfectly. Jim, you square with me in case I get it wrong. Office fits fine. C2 opens a lot of other options. If you decide to sell it, or if you decide to move your office somewhere else, that property is zone C2, and you have a lot of residences in and around that area that could bring things that could be objectionable. Now, I know the one right beside you is already zone commercial. It was zone commercial in the 70s when we adopted zoning, because it was a beer joint when I was a kid, so
Sure.
that's what was going on there. Would that be an acceptable option?
My goal really is to go C2 on it. The property actually was zoned C2 at one point,
Right?
and then.
I know we had some
Yeah, and then it
mixing
got
up around.
rezoned to residential, and then the people that were gonna sell it, try to sell it residential, and then they're like, no, it's commercial, and then it was advertised commercial, and then I put a contract on it, then turns out it's residential again. So the short of it is like, from the property standpoint of what it adjoins, like, my goal is to go C2 with it.
Okay.
So, but Appreciate that.
It worries me a little bit putting more commercial, especially two. C2 is the highest, so anything that's C2 can someday locate on that property. And like I say, there's houses up in behind there, and there's a few down this way and quite a few over this way. And I've had some contacts of folks that were concerned about what was going in. And I told them it's supposed to be an insurance office, and that's a fact.
Sure.
But the day the insurance office goes away and it's commercial C2, it could be anything commercial C2. So just think about it. I'll think about it.
Okay,
That's my only question.
okay, thank you.
That was voted to approve 11-0, by the way. The next one is a resolution to close a portion of the right-of-way between Prospect Church Road and Highway 72 at 866 Prospect Church Road, located at Loudon County Tax Map 39, Parcel 70.
Is that Kelly? That's you? Jim, or,
That changed to the fourth now, isn't it?
Yeah, actually it is.
I need to do a little more research. I talked to Jim and it doesn't look like we have any issues. I think the owners actually thought it was already done.
Yeah.
The county actually thought it was already done. I think.
That's because a section of it had been
Had been
done
done.
several years ago, but they did not do the whole thing.
Right.
Is that
part of,
just a
And it is actually,
paper road?
probably an old road.
it is a
Yeah.
very old road before the highway came through there.
right. So I think, Mr. Simpson's already looked at it. I think, Billy Pickles already looked at it, so I don't think it'll be an issue, but I'll ask a couple of questions.
That was voted to approve 9-0. Next is a rezoning from C2 General Commercial District to R1 Suburban Residential District, tax map 16, parcel 325, located at 810 Old Midway Road in Loudon County, Tennessee, second legislative district, at a 9 to approve 0.
We have no issues with that.
Well,
You do.
I've gotten some calls from people across the street, because that's my district, and this was.
This might be time to discuss that.
Tinker's district, and so I guess we discussed things earlier, and I was confused, which doesn't take much, but
Who discussed them?
I called him
I
earlier.
wanted to make sure.
No,
Well, he's talking
You
to
and I
whoever
didn't
the lady
discuss
is.
no,
The lady across the street.
no, my understanding was, in order to be 2.5 per acre, it had to be a PUD and 75 acres. But you're telling me we can get 2.5 per acre on multifamily in R1.
That's right. Yeah, if they were, and multifamily,
I would strongly disagree with that, and I hope your BZA and Planning Commission would disagree. When we put it to 2.5 max in a PUD, that's what you had to have, 75
and we
acres.
changed the R1 section of the zoning when it talked about multifamily, where you started out with this many acres for this unit, and then as you gained units, you only had to have so many thousand feet of acres. So we went back and amended that section of zoning also, because apartments don't come under PUDs. They come under the R1 multifamily section of the R1. So we
But-
changed that section of zoning that says 2.5 also.
How do you get around the fact that without a PUD, 2.0 is max?
Because PUDs are one thing.
No.
Multifamily developments are another.
So you're saying
Multifamily developments
somewhere
could be
in the-
apartment buildings.
Somewhere in the multifamily development section of the zoning regulations, it still says somebody can put 2.5 units per acre
Yeah,
somewhere.
at the end of the R1 section of the zoning.
Okay.
Go through R1 zoning.
And Tinker, what this is up there, what is they're looking to do? It's
Duplexes.
a lot.
So let's just walk through this. So there's 6 acres. And they would do 20,000 square foot lots.
Yeah,
and
But,
get-
I mean, in a R1 zoning district, you could do a 20,000 square foot. So if you wanted to divide the property, you could do simple division of property where you go to 50-foot road frontage, 20,000 square foot minimum.
But 2 units. Right, a duplex, you would still
on a
get to do
lot.
2 units.
You would get
On a
duplex,
20,000
a
square foot
2-unit
lot.
building on a lot.
20,000 square feet, I can still have 2 residential dwellings in a duplex.
Yes,
Can I have a quadplex?
no.
That's good.
Because our R1 zoning already allows, if you have a R1 lot, you can already build a duplex. R1, A1, A2, you can build a duplex.
So does the 2.5 per acre on that 6 acres apply to these 6?
She would have to do it as a multifamily development. Multifamily developments could be condos. It's all one parcel of ground then, and you're looking at how you're gonna arrange this. It would be, going through the, don't quote me because I don't know if that goes through BZA. It goes through planning commission at that point for approvals on the site concept and everything. Unlike just going through and doing a simple subdivision of the property, getting all the lots you can and building duplexes.
So is the 2.5 based on the 6 or after the infrastructure's put in?
2.5 is only on multifamily development, so that would be if you tried to leave it as 6 acres and develop it.
Could you put multiple units on a 6-acre plat?
2.5 per acre.
If they do it as a
Do the roads have
But
to?
it wouldn't have to be, like right now, we can only have one residential dwelling per lot.
Right.
And if I want another one on my 100 acres, I've got to cut off some land for my second residential dwelling.
Right.
But in the case of a duplex, I can just keep filling them up in an open acreage.
Well, I would equate it to, Meadowwalk Villas. You know, it's a multifamily development that they were approved for with units per acre. It's all common property. You have all these units that they were allowed to construct. They didn't need a PUD to do that. They could have done that under this section of R1 zoning.
So
That's the reason we went through and fixed that.
so we're back to 6 acres and 2.5 per acre. If they did the multifamily, that'd be 15 units.
Units. So, that would be 14 buildings, if she got approved for that.
So then could that be just one building with 14 units in it?
No. Well,
We're gonna
I
have
say
to
no,
fix
but it's
this.
probably not gonna be because you're getting into sprinkler systems and exorbitant costs.
Well, no
She can
sewer.
do a multi-family,
Yeah,
so
they got
yeah, technically you can build apartment buildings.
They got no sewer up there.
Right, so there's some things weighing in, I can't quote, that's why
Yeah.
we review it. But yeah, that's the way we were looking at putting apartment buildings in. Apartments still fall under that section of zoning, it's not under PUDs, it's under the R1 section of zoning that allow multifamily developments.
Okay, we gotta fix this. This is still a problem right here. This is not helping our density question. 15.
Well, it knocked it down from, tracts of ground that were 8 acres being able to have 104 units on it
Well,
legally.
I agree
So
with
we went
that.
from 104 to tracts of ground that's 8 acres.
15
only allowed to have
duplexes.
20.
15
You know,
duplexes
24.
put more traffic on Midway Road than the people wanting to do the garbage office up there. Of course,
A lot of times
Smaller vehicles,
in
maybe.
these meetings, they complain that builders come in and build $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes, but when somebody wants to build something more affordable, all of a sudden that's not good either.
And duplexes would be more affordable too.
Well, I don't look at a rental property as affordable. I look at a rental
It doesn't
property
say
as
that.
Wes might have,
She didn't advertise it as rental
Well.
property.
anyway.
do what now?
Is it gonna be rental properties, Jim, or no?
Nah, I can't answer that, I don't know.
They've not submitted any plans of any kind?
Duplexes can be sold, I mean, they
No,
don't have to
she-
be rental
Can
properties.
duplexes be sold?
Yes, duplexes,
Sure, yeah.
yeah,
live
duplexes
in?
can be sold.
To live
That's
in
why
it
big
forever?
cities
Well, I
live
mean-
like that all the.
Meadowwalk.
Yeah, I mean, you might sell the whole unit as far as, I don't know, that you're gonna get landing on a duplex that's on a common piece of property. Usually you'd have townhouses where you have lot lines or condo developments. Condo developments, sometimes just look like duplexes, so it's very feasible, depending on how it's drawn up, you can do it.
I mean, I don't know how you split a 6-acre piece of property amongst 15 unit owners. I don't know.
Well, we haven't had any issues from anybody in District 2.
I'll give you your phone number from my district.
Look, we still don't have any issues from anybody in District 2 at that point.
That's fine.
That was 9-0, that for approval. Let me find the next one.
Okay.
All right, this next one's to rezone from C1 Rural Center District to C2 General Commercial District, Loudon County Tax Map 44 Parcel 25 located at 4277 Highway 321, Loudon County, Tennessee. This is the 3rd legislative district. The vote was 9-1, 9 to approve. 1 to
Satterfield
deny.
is aware of it. He's under the weather tonight. and he was working on this before he got under the weather, so, and I don't know what he found out, but he was definitely trying to track it all down and find out what it was about.
And this was one of the gentlemen that was gonna speak if y'all had any questions. Last is, rezone, from C2 to, general commercial district, R1 suburban residential district, Loudon County tax map 16, parcel 3, located at 7641 Highway 11, East Loudon County in the 5th legislative district.
That's
11-0.
that's Tinker's too.
Oh, is it?
That-
This fifth.
Just
I said 5th, that's probably, it might
Says
be
fifth.
incorrect.
Highway 11.
That's
That's that one right
that's
across
that's
from
the
Covenant
second.
Circle.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's Jeff Holt. He's wanting. It was zoned commercial a long time ago. He recently bought all that property, and he's wanting to rezone from commercial to residential because he wants to build a house there on that vacant lot portion of it. I think that's a good one.
Okay. How'd that vote?
It was 11-0 to approve.
I got a question since we're talking about 11-0.
Yes, sir.
We're no longer a regional planning commission because Lenore City has their own planning, the city of Loudon has their own planning. So why do the cities still have representatives on the county planning commission when they have representatives from the cities and from that district as well?
I don't know that I can answer that. I know that still yet, subdivision plats, rezonings and things, if they're in the city growth area, Lenore City, Loudon City don't wanna do it, but Lenore City still reviews those plats.
I'm just confused why.
Well, the cities are they're double represented. You have representatives on the planning commission, then you have the chairman of the Loudon and the chairman of the Lenore City Planning Commission. I think that's how they pick those. So the first and second district have 2 members on, and then they have a 5th member that comes on as the planning, and same with Loudon.
I can't honestly ask how that was set up, I just know this.
Well, it's set up because we all used to be regional planning, but then
Right.
as we split off, we've never adjusted. And
But
so-
that's not under Jim's.
No, he was just mentioning 11-0, so I was just curious. So,
But you're asking Jim to answer a question
I
that
just
he
bring it up
can't
to bring it
answer
up.
because he doesn't.
Jim's read a
put
lot of
those
stuff.
boards. He doesn't put those boards together, so.
We can look into that.
Jim, thank you. These 5 items will be on the February 7th.
Jim, you're welcome to stay to number 6 and look
I
at the
think I will.
runoff.
Y'all have a good evening. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'll bet you've seen it, hadn't you, Jim?
I'll hear a minute.
he's seen it firsthand, in
I'm gonna call you
person.
back to your office. I gotta get something out of Josh's office.
Okay.
Whatever, you're just all right before you head back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up was going to be Habitat for Humanity, Tony Gibbons, but he came to the Budget Committee workshop, so he'll be back at a future workshop. So next up is Rodney Grogan. Step up to the podium and tell us what's on your mind.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I've had the preview. I'll be right back there.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's accomplishment.
Thank you, sir.
Going back a little bit old school there, Mr. Chairman. What I want to talk to y'all about tonight is give you an update on tourism in Loudon County. I'd like to thank you, Chairman Cullen and County Commissioners, for allowing us to give the update. I'll be brief, but I want to provide you an idea of how the tourism program of Loudon County Chamber of Commerce is working to increase tourism and the associated dollars that go with that in Loudon County. I want to make everybody aware of what has happened since the 1st of October, when our previous Director of Tourism resigned and left the position. Beginning the 1st of this year, 1st of January, Ms. Mandy Wolf was hired to lead the tourism program for Loudon County. Mandy is from Loudon County and lives in Loudon County. She has experience in nonprofit, and she brings with her energy and a work ethic that's going to enable her to lead the program to where we need it to go. She will be focusing on the actual mission of tourism. The chamber leadership has charged her and the Tourism Council with looking at every program that is ongoing with tourism in Loudon County and bringing back recommendations on how these programs will move forward. In order to allow her to focus on that mission, we've taken a lot of the duties and responsibilities from that particular position and reassigned those. All admin and supervisory responsibilities have been removed to allow her to focus on the actual mission of tourism. I'll have the overall responsibility for everything that the program does. That's why I get to talk to you tonight, and not her. I want to share a couple numbers with you, and I apologize for the print being so small. But as we get older, it gets tougher. Page 1, I'd like to hit that one real quick. What you've got there is the number of users that went to the Visit Loudon County website in the month of December. What stands out to me is the number of new users. Looking at almost 2,200 new users went to that website in the month of December. If that is an average and you multiply it over the course of the year, you're looking at 25,000 new visitors to that website per year. Out of those 25,000, I would bet that we're probably going to get a few of those to come to Loudon County. Second page, it's a map that shows which states we're getting our users from. All the states except for 4 came to our website during the month of December. I'm not sure why Alaska was left out, but I guess they wanted to come. To me, that tells me that there's a lot of interest in this particular area, whether that be tourism or actually moving here to live. So that's a good thing. Page 3, we get this from a company called Smith Travel Research, and we do pay for this on a yearly basis. This lets us know the actual numbers of the occupancy rates in our hotels throughout Loudon County. If you'll take a look at the year-to-date numbers through November of 21, we're at 63.8% occupancy as compared to 56.1 in 19. That is a big change in 2 years. I don't even consider 2020. I throw that out as a waste. But if you look at the increase from 19 to 21, that's a substantial increase. Running 12 months, we're at 62.1 versus 55.8 for 2019. Again, that does show a substantial increase. And the one that I really like is the one on the bottom, the revenues generated. Year to date through November of 21, we're over $12 million in hotel revenue for Loudon County. In 19, that was $10.1 million. So again, a substantial increase there in revenue generated from hotels and for the hotel motel tax.
I know there was a new hotel behind Shoney's. Are there any more new ones? I'm not familiar with this end.
That's the last one that's been
last
built.
one? Okay.
That's correct. That's the last one. There was one that was planned for beside Bimbo's, but I think they pulled the plug on that one when the pandemic hit. I don't know what's happening with that one. But you can see the supply has remained steady, depending on how many days are in the month. Right, in the month of November, you had 21,300 available room nights for that particular month. Page 4, this is results of a fishing tournament that we sponsored back in November. It was a Major League fishing tournament. This was not a local tournament. These guys came in from all over. There were actually 26 states represented at that fishing tournament. And I know you can look at the numbers and you can make numbers do anything you want to, but even if we take half of what they said they brought in, you're still looking at over $500,000 of revenue brought in because of that fishing tournament. That's the kind of things that we can do, but we need to be very picky and choosy about who we bring in here. It needs to be beneficial to Loudon County. One of the last things I want to talk about is we have a public relations firm And to me, I think we get the biggest bang from our buck from this particular organization. You don't have a printout for that.
I thought maybe you just let mine off.
No, I didn't leave it at all. But since July the 1st, and I know this number is kind of mind-boggling to me, but they have generated 7.5 billion digital or print impressions since the 1st of July. And an impression is the possibility of someone seeing that. Yeah, did 7 billion people see that? No, they didn't. But there's a certain percentage of that, a lot of people saw that. Just one article alone in November, it was online for Southern Living, generated over 7 billion impressions. You can't buy Southern Living. I mean, we couldn't afford Southern Living if we tried to. But they got us in there, and it's going to pay off. So that is where we are. We feel like we've got a solid plan to move forward and increase tourism and revenue for Loudon County, and we're excited to be here tonight. So, questions?
I got just one, like, do we pay for Phoenix Bass Fishing League to come to town? Is that something?
We
y'all
sponsored
contribute?
those. We sponsored that tournament for $5,000.
Okay.
Sure did.
Anybody else?
Like, I don't know how much Knoxville paid for the Bass Masters.
They paid a bunch.
That's why I was curious how much
Yeah,
this one cost.
yeah, they paid a bunch. Then the feedback we got from that tournament was really, really good. They enjoyed being here. Their one complaint was we can't reserve the ramp there at Tellico for one particular person. TVA does not allow that. So that's their one complaint, that they don't have sole access to that ramp. Which that day it was very, very crowded. There was another fishing tournament going on, and they were parked everywhere. I've never seen them that busy. So it was a good tournament overall.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear about your addition. Rachel did a great job, but I know Miss Wolf, I know that family. That's a first-class family, and I'm glad to see.
She has already hit the ground running. This is just her 3rd week there. And she came down with COVID last week, so she's a little hindered. But she's a fireball. And she's come in, she's got some great ideas, a lot of energy. Yes.
First-class family.
Yeah. Anything else?
Now, when they had a King Cat tournament a few years ago, there was a local celebrity tournament precursor.
Oh, yes.
That made the
That
news
person
all
will
over
be
the
able
place.
to
didn't
ever
it?
defend that title. You
I don't
think?
know. We'll see if we can't come up with something like
I'm trying to
that.
remember who that was.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you,
y'all.
Rodney.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Mayor Bradshaw.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, guess what? We're here at 2022 and COVID is too. This is a request to just extend our COVID leave policy again.
I thought we just did that.
6 months, it's been 6 months already.
I mean, I thought just in the last month or so you had this, we need to do
That
something
was
about.
6 months ago.
July, yeah.
It's been a while.
2 months.
Well,
Up to commission, whether it's 6
Well,
months or a
solid
year, we
week.
still have employees that are testing positive and like I said, now, a lot of them are working from home, but there are some whose jobs they just can't work from home. And so I would ask that commission entertain to, extend this one more time.
Buddy, can I ask you a question, Chairman? Still with 10 days or with 5?
It's on.
It's 5, yeah, it's following the CDC guidelines.
It's fine.
Put that on February 7th,
Please.
okay?
And that's a one-time, I asked this last time, that's a one-time thing,
You
correct?
will extend it, and then we'll extend it
No, no, no,
again.
like, if
If you get it multiple times.
I
If
think
you
we do it
contract
another
COVID,
year.
you only get to use it once.
And I've not known of anybody to have a duplicate yet.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's,
well, I'm not gonna get it no more. I've had one. I don't want no more.
yeah, well, and the thing is,
Knock on wood over there.
Oh,
you know, you
my
have
God.
people that do have it at
last
home,
words.
it lets them stay at home and not bring it in and share it with the rest of the office. And
Yeah.
I know in my office building, we've had one department that's had 2 in the last week, or in the last 2 weeks.
I think everybody right now's got it. Everybody you talk to's got it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's more rampant now than it's been the whole time, it looks to me like.
We've not seen it ramp up. Well, of course, the state just now reports it once a week now instead of daily, so this is as high as our numbers have been in at least a year, I think. The RFQs for the library storage edition, Susan, those are all in, correct?
Yes.
What I would ask, and kind of B and C kind of go together. I would request that, I would like to put a selection committee together consisting of Commissioner Tinker, Mr. Whitfield, Commissioner Satterfield, review these and make a recommendation to commissioners, myself for choosing. Just to keep everything neutral, to remove myself.
How many came in?
How many we
We
had?
have 3 responses.
And why wouldn't we be just looking at the lowest bid at this point?
Can't ask for a bid in RFQ. And that's why I'm putting the committee together, to get a bid, to ask for a number in that is just against the law.
Well, yeah, you're right. I forgot it was RFQ. I guess the bigger question for me was, why do we go with RFQ instead of RFP? RFP, I mean, it's a tiny project. They're all gonna be qualified. Why don't we just go straight with the RFP?
Sometimes you get the lowest bid, you get what you pay for too.
You get to what now?
Sometimes you go the lowest bid, you get what you pay for as well.
You can't solicit an architect through an RFP. State law requires that we solicit an architect through an RFQ. And it's illegal for us to ask any pricing questions in that RFQ.
Right.
You evaluate the responses, and then you can negotiate a cost with whoever you've selected.
Ms. Husky, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but say we pick someone, the committee selects someone, and their price looks to be out of this world high. We can always say no thanks and pick someone else, correct?
You can always negotiate that, and then if you're not able to reach a settlement, then you can go to your next best selection.
Well, whoever we pick for qualifications isn't necessarily who we have to go with in the end.
Pardon?
Right, that I just wanted, I don't know if everybody knew that.
The first one we pick isn't who we're not locked into them. By no
No,
means.
no, your architect fees are based on a percentage of the type of construction you're building in the region of the country that we're building in for the type of facility you want. It should be they should all be pretty close in pricing even when you get to that point, because it's a percentage of that kind of construction.
Who solicits the contractor in this process, the architect or us?
Us,
Do we ask for bids on that?
yes.
So let's just say architect A bids $100,000, architect B $75,000, architect C $50,000.
But you don't get any pricing like that. You to get to 50,000 with architect C, you've got to have been unsuccessful with number 1 and number 2 to get to number 3.
We gotta hire one without knowing what they're gonna charge us? Is that what I'm hearing?
Recommend one. Without,
Offer a contract and then negotiate a price.
But you said the
That's
price
just
was based on the
legal.
construction value.
Pardon?
You said the price was based on the construction value.
Their cost should be a percentage of the construction of what we're building.
Well, then how do you know what the cost of the architect's gonna be if you don't have a bid from a contractor yet?
Well, that
It's a chicken egg kind of
I'll be
thing.
glad to explain all that to you, but normally they will quote you a price of what it's gonna cost. They're gonna charge you to do that based on a percentage of that type of constructions. For a school, it's a percentage. For a jail, it's 8.4%, let's say. For a school, it's a different percentage. Depending on the type of construction you're building is the type of percentage or the amount of percentage that they use to charge you based on the square foot for that type of facility. Then, all 3 submittals should be fairly close in price, but you have to select which one of those you want to negotiate with first. You can't negotiate with all 3. It's illegal through the state of Tennessee to negotiate a cost with all 3 architects at the same time.
I'm just still hearing something I'm completely lost on. Tinker, Buddy, Adam, somebody.
I'm not.
We've got an RFQ, request for qualifications,
Yes.
and we're going to ultimately select/recommend, but not based on what they're gonna charge us?
That is correct. You
You're
have.
Cannot
looking at
ask
their
an RFQ.
qualifications.
Well, I think we know they'll all be
What if everyone's
qualified.
qualified?
They'll all be qualified.
They'll all
Well,
be
the
qualified.
Yeah, they can't
qualifications
even do
as to
this if
what
they're
you
not
all
qualified.
want too, I mean,
Well, I mean, that's the question. I mean, really, what's a RFQ gonna show us?
They're all qualified.
State law requires us to do an RFQ. Once you do an RFQ, then you can continue, and you select an architect from that RFQ, you can continue to use that architect for future projects, kinda like we've done with MBI. There comes a time where a situation like this arises and we end up doing another RFQ. You might select one of the architects to do business with. You negotiate a price up front of what that percentage is gonna be for this project. Once you solicit bids for the actual construction, if the construction comes in at, let's say, $2.5 million, they usually should adjust a cost that they quoted to you based on the amount of that construction. So they might quote you a price up front, but that price will be adjusted when the construction bid prices come in.
So they're really giving us a percentage and not a cost.
Correct.
We already had two. We know MBI said 60,000. We know whoever the other one was, Johnson or something, said 32.
Don't say it, don't say it,
No.
no,
It's
that was illegal.
it's
to do
illegal to do
Well,
that.
But you all were the one told us MBI give us 60,000.
And Bass Pro was one of our vendors preferred, that's what their rough estimate was.
It's getting kind of weird. I'll be honest, it's getting real
Well, it's
strange.
Tennessee procurement law.
Okay.
If it's the way that.
All right, well,
They are already, and
We solicited a cost from MBI with the intentions of moving forward with them. Because they were already our architect that we've had on board for some time. And then somebody else went out and solicited another cost, which is not considered appropriate or legal in the state of Tennessee to do that. So we trashed all of that and started over with an RFQ because what happened ended up not being the right thing to do. Those architects can get fined for even quoting you a price if you're not already in that process to move forward with them.
That's one reason I'm recusing myself from it and asking Commissioner Tinker, Commissioner Whitfield, Commissioner Satterfield to make a recommendation I'll honor.
Put that on February 7th meeting?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question about that process. Do we look at them independently or
Yeah, now that's one
together?
thing, if the committee's put together, you all, the three members get it, you're not supposed to discuss with anybody, any other commissioners, till you come back to meet again and make, hey, I decided on Acme, A, B, C, whatever. You're not supposed to, Susan, make sure I'm right on this, you're not supposed to discuss the commissioners or amongst yourselves until you reconvene
It's
to make a
independent.
decision, yeah.
Does
It's
that mean,
independent,
yeah,
and I will provide you with.
we give
a-
notice of that meeting and
I will
that kind of
provide
thing?
you with a
Okay.
spreadsheet that has a point system. They get so many points for this and so many points for
Okay,
this.
sounds good, thank you.
And so that spreadsheet will be, submitted by each of the members of that committee and turned in, and a score will be tallied.
So the three committee members don't ever sit down and discuss it, they just fill out the sheet and give it to you.
They have to evaluate it independently of each other.
That's basically the same thing we did on the mowing contract for the school system.
And,
Same way we did it on the jail too.
That was before my time, I don't know.
I don't ever remember doing a process like this. Is the first time I've ever heard of anything like this.
Yeah, we've done a couple.
Having to
of
get
them.
together and meet and make points and tell each one, I've never heard of
Well,
that.
and you don't, like I said, you don't discuss, once you fill it out, do they come back, and I may be wrong on that, or they just bring it back to you, or they will all
They
come
can
back?
bring it back to me, or the group can come back. Normally, it's not brought to commission. Normally, a committee is
Yeah.
selected by the purchasing agent. They score the, they score the submittals, and based on the score, the purchasing agent selects
I don't think we need to meet.
the
them.
contractor.
I'll just turn mine in.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I'll do, I'll just turn mine in.
We ended up doing an RFP.
So then here's my
well,
last
that's what
question.
she's saying, that's why they're having to do this all over again, is because the RSQ last time, we already had somebody MBI, and then something happened, and,
Well, I
Yeah.
brought in a different one because I thought 60,000 seemed stupid high.
well,
So-
and so.
And 30,000,
And so that was done
2,000 cheaper.
incorrectly, and so that's why they're trashing all that stuff and start.
They're trying to be nice, but you're gonna force them to
Yeah.
Force it, say it.
say Adam screwed up.
He's trying to save the county money. I don't know if that's a screw up.
I guess here's my other question, when it comes down
Well,
to,
you got legally, you can save county money, or we're not. Neither one of us knew that at the
Yeah.
time, so. But
anyways, send me a
lots of
jail
ways
if
to
you need
save
to. How is the contractor picked?
Pardon?
Once we have the architect, how is the contractor picked? Do you
Once
put out
we
an
have- Once we
RFP?
have an architect, they will do the design work, and then they will develop bid documents with all the specifications, how much steel, how much this, how big. They will develop that specification, and then we will put it out to bid for licensed contractors in the state of Tennessee. They will bid on it. The architect will evaluate those bids for accuracy, and then make a recommendation to the county for the contractor. At which time, like the jail, I would bring it back to you and say Rouse Construction was the low bidder, and a request to move forward with signing a contract with whoever that contractor might be.
Just keeps the brother-in-law factor out of it.
We'll see, won't we? We'll see.
I've got one brother-in-law.
It's all state law, it's not just
I know.
something that we're doing here in
I know,
Loudon
brother.
County, this is state law
Lucky man.
across the state. For all
Yeah.
municipalities, and selecting an architect, it's considered a professional service and not based on cost, it's based on, it's like a doctor, you're not gonna ask the doctor how much you're gonna charge, you might, but still, it's based on qualifications.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one more question, sorry. Where are we in terms of the courthouse? Where are we with that?
Hey, can I ask her a question about this real quick? before
Please,
you do
yes.
that? Or say something. Susan, I was able to come across a grant from the state, and I had Tracy and Amy take a look at it. And there are some questions on there about the RSQ and RFSO. I will need to come see you about that so we can get that information filled out.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Thank you, dear.
What was your question?
Courthouse.
Any minute.
Courthouse, we are waiting on, Johnson and Gay to, finalize a contract for this next phase.
Is that who we picked to go with?
That's who our actual lowest bidder is at this time. We have two cost estimates, Minor and East and Johnson and Gay.
And then what happens if they quote us $1 million and it comes in at 1.2? For that 200,000.
Change orders have to be submitted to the insurance company for approval.
Thank you.
And the thing about the contracts is we are, at long last, very close to actually have people on site. So,
We'll see.
we are, I'm confident this time. Between the rain, the COVID, and everything else, it's nothing else, sure, well, I ain't saying it.
Speaking of rain,
Number 6?
Hold on.
That's all I have, thank you all.
Okay, those two items will be on February 7th, commission meeting. Commissioner Waller.
speaking of rain, this is a neighborhood in my district, and Jim is tired of this place, I'm sure. But every time it rains, this happens, and it's been going on for 2 years. So I just wanted y'all to see what I deal with, phone calls I get every rainstorm.
You want me to go through them?
Yes,
Please.
go through them, please.
Is that that off of,
Cook,
That's
that's Cook up at
I
Cedar Hills.
wasn't gonna mention anybody. It's the Grove at Cedar Hills. It's the back nine of the golf course. And this was Christmas Eve, maybe? No, it's my dad's birthday, actually, January 6th.
Uh-oh.
I mean, that's what's going into the creek in my district. And Josh Fraser and I are best friends at TDEC now because of this. I don't know if I call us friends because probably hates getting my phone calls. But this is what we have, and is that the video?
That's the video.
I mean, so, you know, I want to sit down with Jim more and see what we can do to strengthen the county side of enforcement. Of these issues. I mean, that is hard to see on that picture. I can email them out, but it just shows you all the red clay going straight into the creek. So I don't know what we can do. I know our detention ponds are 25 years and Knox County's are 100. So I mean, we need to look at the size of our detention ponds because the one on the south side is always full. So I mean, there you can see the red clay coming in to the creek. There it is washing out at the dam. So that's where it goes.
That's under the tunnel, going straight into Watts Bar Lake.
So I'm gonna be talking to my dad some because he has a lot of experience in this, and talking to Jim and T-Deck and the head engineer for Knoxville, because I just know Harold, and seeing what we can do to. This shows water coming out of the storm sewer system, just washing straight down the road and going right into the creek. So I mean, this has been going on for 2 years. So we got to do something from the county side to get a better job of erosion and runoff, because this is just unacceptable. So I mean, unacceptable. So, anyways, there'll be more to come.
Jim, what more can we do? What do we need to do? Now, you and I both know up in my district, every time we get a big rain, we get the Avalon one, there's the same one you call. But how do we stop this? This guy has just shown he don't care. He's not gonna do nothing somebody tells him to do.
Well, I guess since you asked me, I won't play devil's advocate, or I'll just tell you what I encountered when I went out there, okay? So I went out after I seen these videos, I met with the site superintendent. We drove, the storm drain that's coming out is actually a clogged pipe that they are trying to get a machine. They can't get the machine because there's none available at this time to clean that out. Some of the other areas where you saw the runoff coming across the curbs and things. So Josh Frazier with the state, who is the supervisor for the subdivision development, has been out there and they are in compliance.
Not now, they're not. He has written him a letter of,
Yeah, so when I went out, I looked at some of the different areas, I looked at subdivision as a whole and individual lots, okay? So some of that looks like a whole subdivision thing. Noted some swells in the back that's diverting a lot of that water around those houses they have built. Well, they should have check dams in place. Where that's running across that curb, they thought, well, it's so flat, it's gonna dissipate out, it's not gonna run off like that. Of course, once we receive an inch of rain in 24 hours, all measures, they can fail, there's no fines or penalties. But I did tell them, these are areas we should have erosion control, not just the silt fence, maybe multiple rows, looking at each individual lot. So once the subdivision's done, you're under T-Deck. Once they get building on each lot, then it kind of like falls under us. I noticed some areas where they have houses under construction, the lots are bare, but yet their erosion sediment was inadequate in that area. I will say that the president of the company emailed me that day, said he was aware of it. They do have a professional erosion and sediment control service that is coming out and working on this site. They'd actually been out there the day I went and started doing some work, but I took the superintendent around, showed him some of these areas of concern, and they are working on taking care of and resolving that. Hopefully it'll get better. I think there's some other issues with the sediment ponds. That's an engineering thing. The engineer stamps and certifies those ponds.
and he's suing his engineer right now, right? He's got a $500,000 lawsuit
With
against
the one.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
they've hired another one.
They have.
My problem, Jim, is not the water, it's the mud.
Right.
I know when you impervious surface houses, streets, you're gonna get water.
Right.
But this cat's got enough mud coming down through here to flood out my whole farm. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
unbelievable what happens down
Yeah,
through there.
and then actually, if you'll go and look, even when you left the site, there wasn't a lot of silt left in the roads. It's silty water, muddy water, that, with some of these measures, I think they could stop some more of that. I don't know that they could stop it all. You go to the T-Deck erosion class, it's called considerable contrast, and what is that? But they can't even answer that question. I agree that there was a lot occurring there, that hopefully they went out and put those measures in to help that.
Well, we're 2 years in, and it's
Yeah.
a continual problem, because every time it rains, I hate to call you. And that's why I
Sure.
try to call on days it's not raining, just so you don't think I'm calling about this all the time. But
Yeah.
we're 2 years in, and I'm,
Well, you remember down here at Planning Commission meeting, I came down here early, a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and said, this has gotta stop. and they come back there and tell Mr. Shaver, we found the problem. It was a bad pipe. We have fixed it. You will never have any more mud on your place. 3 days later, I got enough mud down there to build a garden. I mean, he just keeps saying this and it never stops. It never stops.
Right.
Can we do anything to give you more power? Can we put a stop work order on the whole Blooming development till he gets his mud under control? What can we do to make him listen? Or anybody for that matter, not just this one. It's coming right out of Homestead, Farmstead right now. Farmstead's doing the same thing.
I think a lot of it goes back to keeping in mind the state issues the notices of coverage, and the state is tasked with, and it's a responsibility to monitor those sites. And if the state's telling them they're in compliance, then I would think they're not gonna do anything further as long as they're in compliance.
Can the county have their own level of compliance?
I'm sure they could.
Can it supersede the states?
Can we increase the requirement for the size of the retention ponds?
Absolutely we can.
I'm sure you could too. That's something you're gonna get into engineering. An engineer, a P needs to look at that and say, here's what it is, here's how it's based, is this adequate, is it not?
Well, a half-inch rain and these right here are full. I mean, they're full and the red clay's just flowing over Bill's Chapel Road and down the creek and through the fields. So it's not a one to big, it doesn't take a big rain. A half-inch rain for a half a day and the retention ponds, the red clay is streaming down the streets.
In Knoxville, County, I forget which one, they require an independent engineer to look at everything before it's signed off on for completed development.
So they have their engineer submittal, and then they require a second engineer to review and approve.
Yes.
Has the State Department not been contacted and these pictures and things shown to
Yeah,
the State
absolutely.
Department?
Yes, they have, and they were out of compliance and in compliance, and now they're out of compliance again. It's
The state has a large area. Josh Frazier covers a large area. That's why the question is, can we do anything more locally to help strengthen the protections of the surrounding landowners? Because this, I mean, this is gonna keep going and going. I mean, every time we have one of these scrape off all the soil, down here, up my way, wherever it's at, it's gonna be the same thing.
Locally, the one thing that you can do through our office, and I don't know how much it helps in all these situations, is prior to them obtaining a footing inspection, some jurisdictions, if the erosion sediment control isn't in place, they don't get an inspection.
Worked for me.
I mean, now, again, we're not going back to the whole development, we're talking about each individual lot. So
Right.
the inspector would have to go on site. If it's not in, if it doesn't meet, and that doesn't mean you surround the whole lot, you just do it on the downhill side and contours, right? If it's not installed, they don't get a footing.
And that's not in your, you don't have that authority right now?
We do.
Oh, you do have it. I thought you wanted us to put that in there.
Well, I mean, it may cost phone calls, but if that's what y'all want, we can go out and say, we're not gonna do an inspection on your site till your erosion controls are measured. We give them a little time of grace to say, hey, guys, in the future, if this is not in place, we're not doing it. And then we proceed from there. A lot of subdivisions have it in, but not all. And I do look at individual lot complaints for runoff, when we get that.
isn't ground that's not under construction supposed to be covered?
15 days when it's not worked, yeah. That's TDEC's law.
So TDEC enforces that, not you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Josh Frazier is technically their site inspector.
So you couldn't enforce that regulation.
That's a TDEC.
We don't want to get into enforcing their laws, we've got plenty of our own, I
To be
think.
honest with you,
Not working.
I'm
Whatever we have, not
certified
working.
erosion and settlement control, and it's the things they cover, this is the same stuff
That's
that
the
all the
state not
contractors
working
require.
too. I think
to
Jim's working. I don't think the state.
Whatever's being done is not working. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying overall it's not working.
Yeah, could we go out, I mean, when we look at subdivisions right now that are being developed, we do go out even, through the planning office, which is handling the stormwater, that's under the planning. And we look at that and we make sure that, these erosion and sediment controls are in place. I mean, that's how we found the pipe that was discharging straight into Muddy Creek rather than the detention pond. That was our offices, that wasn't TDEC. That stopped some of it. So we do some of it. We could tighten up some things out there maybe. Hopefully what they'll do and what recommendations I made will help.
Well, I don't want it to
It'll help the
be,
volume of water in the detention pond.
I don't want us to just focus strictly on this. This is
No,
this
it
is
needs to
before us.
go for everyone.
I can tell you, Jim, I got one just as bad on the backside of me on phase 4. that I've not called you a time on, because normally he's pretty good about doing it.
Typically.
My gosh, at the bright red clay coming out of that one.
Well,
Wherever these developers come in and strip the ground, it's coming,
right.
it's coming.
And you know, I've already received complaints on the one just down the road. I think.
Farmstead.
Sure you have. Also, yeah, I've received complaints and we've been by that site.
What's been done there? Anything that you can?
Just to be honest with you, not sure. I've not been by it. I've not had time, but, they were told to cut their construction entrances in. So part of their plan showed grinding. You won't see a lot of silt fence. It's berms and ground product, mulch product.
And burning, they're burning right now.
That would be a violation of county law.
Yeah.
They were burning the other
Open
day.
burns a violation of county law.
Well, the burning for development.
Will you make sure they know that?
I know that, I know that.
Will you make sure they know that?
Sure.
Thank you.
But Jim, on the open burn, and we're getting a little off and we'll get done, we're doing pretty good tonight. We passed that in 2005.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what your policy, how you do this. I think enforcement comes if someone complains.
Typically, yes.
In the old days when it was first passed, gosh, the rescue squad went out and squirted the fire out and all that sort of stuff. It was a big deal. But apparently now, unless somebody makes a complaint, it's just allowed and it goes on.
They just wait till after dark.
Well, they do that, but they burn all night lots of times.
I saw one start on a Saturday morning.
But-
Because nobody's around to enforce it.
But is it truly a 100% open burn ban, or is it on high, what was the word Don Miller used all the time? When we got bad pollution going on that day. Pat, what's the word?
Particulates,
it's- I don't remember if it was just across the board, if it was just on certain days, but it may be across the board.
Our burning is, if it's for development, whether it's somebody building a house on an undeveloped lot or
Yeah.
a subdivision, they cannot burn that way.
All right.
No.
Period.
$50 fine per day if they do it.
Sure. Up to,
Up to $50 a day.
yes, sir.
All right.
I think this issue takes a deeper dive.
Yes.
It's, yeah. Planning and zoning committee will look at it.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
Dan Shaver, tell us about TV3.
There has been some new developments today.
right back. I gotta get something.
Don't just wait on.
No,
I'm kidding. Developments today that I wasn't aware of. So we have to start out with a question, an overall question. TV3 and broadcasting our meeting. How many meetings do we need to broadcast? I'm not answering, I'm not advocating. This is one of the questions that needs to be discussed. In the last budget cycle, they submitted their budget request and asked for an additional $2,000 per year, from $6,100 a year to $8,100 a year. And the reason for the additional money was to continue to broadcast workshops and the Solid Waste Commission meetings, school board workshops. That was what the extra money for. Currently, our $6,100 pays for our commission meetings and the school board's board meetings, not their workshops. I met with Jerry Touton, it's where I've gotten my information from.
How many meetings is that a year?
Solid Waste is paying for their own.
Okay,
Because they are at Loudon City now,
right.
so they're paying their own.
All right, so all we're getting after our 6,100 is 12 commission meetings, 12 school board meetings.
So 24 meetings?
So
And I'm already doing it.
So I'm getting there. So if we want any additional meetings, it can either be $50 per meeting or $100 per meeting. The TV3 live streams it to YouTube and also publishes it on their TV3 channels, wherever those channels are on your cable. If you want it on YouTube and on their TV3 channel, we have to pay $100 per meeting. I don't know if anybody watches it on TV anymore. I don't have a clue. I can't even find it on my TV, on AT&T. I don't know where it's at.
So right now, we're paying them $254.17 a meeting.
Well, not anymore, because
Well, if y'all hang on a minute, let's don't jump the shark here.
Hold on.
Just what Van said, 24 meetings,
There you go.
that's $6,100.
So what I have is their budget request, and I asked, what does our $6,100 pay for? Now, they also say that they get a contribution from Loudon City and from Lenore City. And I have no reason to question that. It's in their budget thing right here too. Because they broadcast the Lenore City Council meetings, they broadcast the Loudon City Council meetings.
And that's all they broadcast.
That's all they broadcast. So what I was coming for here tonight was to say, first question, how many meetings do we want to? Do we want to pay additional money for these meetings? They're located in the LCTC building, free of charge. The school board lets them use the old vocational building to do their business in. Do we want more meetings? The second thing I was here to tell you was that we can do all this without TV3. We can have our own YouTube channel. We can have it set up. You can even turn it on where it's all automatic. It comes on at a certain time. It goes off at a certain time. Unbeknownst to me,
Correction, it can come on at a set time and goes off when the camera goes on.
okay,
Yes.
goes off when the camera goes off.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to me, apparently for our very first time, Kelly, I guess you have already set us up a county YouTube channel and have done whatever work is involved to make it work through this without TV3.
But TV3 can still record and broadcast the meetings. that they have.
Simultaneously.
You should charge them $50
There you go.
for using your work.
So that was news to me today. That's the first I've heard of that.
And that's what I'm doing, right?
And I wasn't here.
That's why I've been over here.
I wasn't here to advocate for or against TV3. I'm not advocating for or fewer meetings. I'm not advocating spending more money or less money. This is what the facts are. The body just needs to kind of decide where we want to go. If we can make our own channel free and work out, and especially if we can make it set up to be automated, seems pretty simple.
I'll just say that I think it's important to have workshop, commission meetings, and planning commission all recorded.
Okay.
I think every meeting we have should be recorded, whether it's,
You
Well,
mean,
every meeting-
you mean in addition to what we're doing?
yeah, I think anytime
Yeah.
we get a group of elected appointed officials together for a meeting, I think, especially here, I think it should be recorded. That's,
And I did this, the mayor kind of talked to me about it, and I said, well, I checked into the cameras. I was the one that kind of got us started on the cameras to begin with, and I said, yeah, I think I can do it. I don't think it's that big a deal.
So what's that do for school board though?
Well, the school board's still set up as far as TV3. Now, as if you want to put school board meetings on this too.
Well, but I think that we're paying for,
We're paying for that.
we're paying.
But can't we do it without anybody having to do anything except
Anybody
turn the
pay?
camera on?
Well,
Tammy turns us on. Their board secretary can turn theirs on and off. I mean,
It
if
just
it
takes
can
a
be
matter-
automated. You
I mean,
can't be asked to be here at every school board meeting, workshop. You can't do that.
well, but I would have to do it live from home. Like I
No,
would
you
have
can
to
you can
just.
schedule.
Yes, I can schedule it, but it still would require, I mean, for someone to look and make sure that it's going and everything's good. I mean, I can sit from home and do this now.
Well, who wants to sit at home and worry about turning on
A meeting.
a school board workshop? I'm not asking anybody to do that. I mean, you do whatever you want to do. You're retired, you got nothing else to do, so you might as well do something. But, you know, I think we need to really explore the options that to find out if we can really automate it to a point to where it would take very minimal help.
Well, and I can actually put in here for it, just, you know, like you're saying, automatic. I can say Loudon School Board, this date, blah, 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 and as long as they turn it on, it'll go and stream right on. I'm just saying that to be safe, I would, if I was home, I would log in just to say, oh, okay, it's going. Because sometimes things like, if the power goes off, you gotta reset and things
Well, I
like
think
that.
between now and the end of the next budget cycle, which now we have plenty of time till the end of this fiscal year, we've already committed the money to it. I don't think anybody's wanting to add more money to it. If we can make this work, I think this is the avenue to explore right here.
Sounds to me like,
And you can pay me if you really.
We don't want to pay you.
sounds to me,
I think.
train the people that are at those meetings, somebody like Tammy,
I don't
turn
think,
it on and do it.
I don't
Be
think an
done.
elected official, as an elected official, you should have to be sitting here worrying about the meeting. I think can be a distraction. If we can make it simple enough where it's just a flick of the switch, but I've seen you had to be on the phone for a little bit of something tonight, so
Well,
I don't know if that's
the first
appropriate.
time, this is the first time I've done it.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
I mean, I
There's
did
been
a
times I've had
trial,
to call Jared too,
Yeah.
or we've had meetings to make
and
sure.
I
it's
did a
working.
couple of trial runs this week to see if it worked, and everything went fine, everything went fine. I had one little glitch
Well, the
tonight.
question had been raised, what about the TV3 and me? This is my report back, here's where we're at, so I guess we just follow this track for a little while and see where it goes.
Well, and
I mean, I think, oh, I'm
I
sorry.
had the channel set up, on the website, so there is a link
There is a link.
to
Do we
our
know it?
website. Huh?
You said it's on the county website?
Yes, it is.
You go
On
to
our
it,
county
and then
website.
How many different levels will we have to go to
You click
find?
one button.
One
Just
button.
One click.
One
Click to
button.
mainstream, and then go two.
Okay.
And then you go
Two.
to. Well, I'm just telling you.
Our website's the hardest website for navigating history.
At one time, the internet connection here would not allow the broadcast to
Right.
stay connected, and Jared Teuton was having to watch it and monitor it for the full duration of those
I'll have to
meetings
call him.
to make sure that it stayed up and running. We have since added a backup internet here, and
Right.
it should be,
Right.
Mayor, is it, I think it's.
It's better,
It
it's
should
much
be
stronger
running.
than
It's
it
doing
was.
better.
Yes, it's much better. Much better.
We do have that backup to take the heavy load off of our old system.
Right.
So it sounds to me, Kelly, that it's a training issue for the people at the various meetings, how to do it, and let it go on YouTube.
And then come next
And
budget,
I don't really mind doing it for a while so that I can get used to it, and then that way, you know, if somebody, like, at this meeting or something, if I'm not here, you all can do it easily.
come September, you won't be here.
Well, that's true.
Right?
She's welcome to attend
don't
any
say
meeting she
that.
wants
Don't
to.
say that. I might be sitting out there in the audience.
That you might be. Well, that's all I've got on that. That was my report. But I do need to add on behalf of, Commissioner Satterfield, he was planning tonight to discuss an extension of the PUD moratorium. Satterfield's not here tonight, but if you do the math, if we wait till next workshop, that would put us into March for a vote on the extension, and March is when it expires. So I think you better be prepared to vote on an extension for however much that is, 30, 60, 90, 6 months, 8 years, it doesn't matter to me, at the February meeting.
Okay, so we'll put that on the February 7th.
I'll let him handle that when he comes back. I just told him I'd bring it up, so we've discussed it, and then he can do with it what he wants to.
Okay. All right.
I'll give you a quick heads up. We got a little situation brewing up on the upper end of the county. Little road called Harrison Lane. Runs right parallel to the county line up beside Bob Leonard Park off of Dixie Lee Junction.
I know where that is.
A developer has asked to build it's 9 acres. He wants to do a development in there. It's 95% in Knox County / the city of Farragut. It's 40 condos and 2 or 3 commercial enterprises on this 9 acres. Their density's a little higher than ours. So everything's fine. I got my first contact. Buddy's been contacted now. I don't know who all's been contacted, but that whole little community up there, the concern is, can't do a thing about the development, but they intend to put an exit entrance onto Harrison Lane. Where this development has, if you come up Watt Road toward Kingston Pike, it's right after you crest the hill. It's just an all grown up lot. Right where they're wanting to tie into Harrison Lane is 15 feet wide. And going up the hill, that's the widest it gets. It gets narrow as you go. So those folks up there are very opposed to an entrance exit on Harrison Lane. I've been up and met with the Farragut planner, Mark Shipley, I think's his name. And I made contact with the engineer, Campbell and Associates, I think maybe was his name. I made contact with him. Told him what our concerns would be. When I say our, I'm talking about Commissioner Duff and I. Our concerns is that the folks up there don't want an entrance exit, so we are really opposed to that. The planner, I'm not sure where he was. He said, we're not voting on anything but a rezone next week. So I said, well, that's fine. I understand that process. The engineer said, I don't think it's a problem. He said, this was just a very not hand-drawn, but a preliminary plat. He said, I don't think that the developer will have any issues at all with not tying to Harrison Lane. But I think the mayor's even already gotten involved and gonna send a a letter in opposition to it, and like I said, I've already talked to a number of people, so just in case any of the rest of you get any contact, it's Harrison Lane at Dixie Lee Junction, not Harrison Road down at high school.
Did you get the email today with the pictures?
I haven't been home on my computer for a long time.
Oversized truck trying to get turned on and it's
Oh.
plowed somebody.
I had a lady call while I was in budget, and I called her back, and she was telling me that they had one up there all stuck and everything. GPS, that's what GPS does. All right,
You finished?
I'm finished.
Tracy Blair.
Thank you, sir. On the next agenda, you'll have 2 resolutions to accept donations. One was a donation to the Sheriff's Department, the other to the dive team. There will be a resolution to approve a bequest for the animal shelter. Also, 3 different items related to grants. One is the EMPG grant. We get that grant every year. It offsets expenses in the EMA budget. Also, there will be an increase in the DGA grant. That's the grant that pays for wages and benefits of the health department employees. And then there will be an item to approve the application of a grant to the State Department of Archives for a grant that will provide funding for the renovation at the library for the record storage. So those 3 grants will be on the agenda. I've distributed spreadsheets for budget amendments. I'm reading my note here, okay. The one that you have for the county general fund, you'll get a revision to that in your packet of information. I'll make sure that I get it to Tammy. Everything that you have is correct, but there was something that was approved at the budget committee meeting that was not included prior to. It's a $30,000 expenditure in the sheriff's department for carpet in the administrative part of the building. So you will receive a revised copy of that in your packet of information. And I think that's all from the budget committee.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Just to apply for commission tomorrow, we will be drawing down our ARPA money, so
Tell us about it.
it'll be the half of the 10. I get to put my name and social security number and sign for it. So,
Tracy, I read that last one from the legislature, and I know you stayed up closer than all of it. And what I read, without going into the absolute fine print, what I read was almost up to $10 million now can pretty much be deposited in the general fund to cover lost revenue without a lot of explaining or anything. That's what I read.
Almost. That is the lost revenue portion that was in the interim final rule,
Right.
but it's been revised in the final rule.
Right.
And you can still do that based on a formula to determine exactly how much revenue was lost.
It was a lot different formula than the interim rule, those the way I read it.
But the biggest change is that counties, cities, whomever can take a standard amount up to $10 million, and it can be spent on any government expenditure. So any expenditure that the county government would normally have,
Right.
this up to $10 million can be spent on that. And a good example of that is none of the areas really state that these funds can be used for a project that would rebuild a road or a bridge or a paving. However, that can be done with lost revenue funds because it can be spent on any government expenditure. It can't just be put in the county general fund because we will still have to track it. We still have to account. We still have to report how it's spent. And it's been recommended that, along with a separate bank account, that these funds be accounted for in a completely separate fund anyway. But that was a big change.
Huge
So
change.
it's almost like a little secondary general fund almost.
That's a good one, Tracy.
That's it.
Tracy.
Have you talked to anybody at Charter or AT&T more about a survey countywide for
Yep.
talked to Zach Bates again today, he's with Spectrum. And he told me originally, their original numbers came up with 1,250 homes in Loudon County that didn't have access to high-speed internet.
I got that many in the fifth district.
And thought that was low, called him back, did a little
Amen.
research on him, called him back, and he's actually going off of the FCC numbers, which are,
Way off.
FCC's putting a new map out. The project they're proposing is 8.6 million. The state is covering 70% of that. Charter Spectrum, or Spectrum, is going to cover the rest. Now, the way to keep from going to the bottom of the list, you put a little skin in the game with them. And this is from the state. State says if a city or county is willing to invest in this improvement, then you go up the list as far as getting started.
But they won't guarantee they're gonna bring high-speed internet to our people in our rural areas anytime in the next few years.
That's right.
You look, there's gonna be a line a mile long. I mean, and so I don't know how big of a push the state of Tennessee is. Well, 70% match is pretty
But I
big.
hate to hand out $2 or $3 million to an outfit, a multi-billion-dollar corporation without a guarantee that by next December, the people out on Pawpaw Plains or the people down at the end of Jones Road are gonna have high-speed internet.
Well,
Or
that'll
the
be,
Bill's Chapel.
and I don't know, I told the budget committee meeting, when we get it drawn down, we get closer, which will probably be the next, maybe in, as close as February or March.
No, it'll be longer than that.
I want to have a workshop,
To discuss this.
advertise it and see, you know, I know Habitat wants to come, TAS wants to come, Spectrum wants to come. I think it'd be remiss if the Visitors Bureau didn't wanna come.
I told them we'll have to use a high
And
school
have that
gym
and let
because
them
everybody
come
will come.
and ask what their ideas are. Tracy and Amy have done an outstanding job of keeping up with what's going on and the classes they've taken to keep up with it. And say, and then commission openly say, you know, well, we'd like to give 25,000 Visitors Bureau to promote tourism. You can do that, but we're not gonna give 10. You know, just let commission get their hands on it and see what everybody's ideas are.
We also have AT&T up in my area too, so we don't need to leave out other providers.
Alan Hill is working on some numbers as well.
Yeah,
I've not heard
okay.
back from Alan.
That's
Well,
wanna
you
make sure
got,
that
we got Spectrum, AT&T, and what's our third one here in the county? What's across the river?
Comcast, but it's all the same, it's all Spectrum.
AT&T's not Spectrum.
Well, AT&T's not, no.
No,
I thought
Charter is Spectrum.
and
yeah,
then
Charter.
and Comcast is Xfinity.
Yeah, Comcast is different, so there's.
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to make sure that we're not leaving anybody out.
Well, and I don't care who does it, as long as our people get some internet.
Oh, I'm
Tracy's fixing to poo-poo the whole thing.
poo-poo it, Tracy.
No, you expressed concern about the speed of the internet that's installed with these funds. It has to be at a certain level in order to use these funds for that purpose.
Does it specify what that level?
It does, but I don't know the internet language well enough to convey
The speed
that
of the
to you.
internet, or
How
how
quickly
quickly
they
they put the
install it?
line in.
The speed is what she's talking about, speed of the internet.
Well, that's
My
great.
concern is how quickly they get it down to the end of Jones Road, you know?
Bill's Chapel Road.
Bill's Chapel Road, and people need internet.
We've got several out in our area.
Gary's
right
probably
now.
got more than anybody sitting
Well,
behind the table.
Some of mine and Gary's overlap.
But that's the thing with like Washington Pike. AT&T came out through there 3 years ago and ran all their fiber optic lines. But it's just sat there.
They've done it all over the county because they now have it in the ground.
Yeah.
They get the first dibs.
Right.
But now I have fiber
You've
in
got
my
people
house.
out
but, I
Sticky
mean,
Road
that's
that
in a little
can't
neighborhood
get
too.
internet.
Build a few more of those developments out through there, they'll put it in for free.
I don't think they will. They're not out in the Adams area.
So,
Keep building.
Okay,
Keep talking. Keep talking.
they will come.
take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a
I guess we really
second?
need a motion on that.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
We can't vote.
It's over.